Hey gorgeous, I have been trying to make this video for the last 2 days and it hasn't happened, so hopefully today is the day. It has been 4 days since I had my seedling sale and it was, in one word, amazing. It was way more than I imagined it was going to be. A lot of people showed up. I sold a lot of plants, and today I'm just going to give you a breakdown of everything that I did months, weeks, days before the seedling sale, to prepare for it, to market it, to tell my friends about it, and some of my thoughts after the sale, after what was sold, and after the things that I have left over. So hopefully if you're thinking about having your own seedling sale, this video can help you or can push you to do your own for the next coming season. If you're new here, if this is the first time that you found this video about my seedling sale, let me just back up a little bit and tell you a little bit about what I do. I opened this channel years ago just to share the love that I have for gardening. I don't really teach anything. I don't really sell anything. People that watch my videos love plants as much as I do. And I love to share with you the things that I do, the fails, the successes, and some of the new things that I have going on. And I started growing plants from seed, vegetables and flowers a few years ago. I think this is my year 6 going into seed starting. And I love it. Starting from seed opens up a whole new world of things for your garden to grow, to enjoy, to eat. So it's amazing. And one of the things that I struggled with when I wanted to, grow all of the plants that I wanted to grow was that I couldn't really find those plants locally. I couldn't find Verbena bonariensis, or I couldn't find a type of cosmos that I wanted to grow. So I had to start it from seed. All of those things, I had to start from seed. And I decided, you know what? It would be great if somebody was able to grow some of these flowers and sell them in the spring. And for the last couple of years, I thought maybe I'll just, grow my own and sell them. And while I thought about it, time got away from me. I didn't really prepare. I really didn't have the time. One reason or another, I couldn't make it happen. But this year, I decided at the beginning of the year that I was going to go and grow the plants and sell the plants, or try to anyway. And that's how all of these first seedling sale happened. So I started preparing at the beginning of the year, actually around January. So in January, I started preparing for all of these seedling sale. I started to look into varieties that I wanted to grow. I started to look into the things that I couldn't really find locally, and I started ordering the seeds. I started looking into the pots that I was going to use, looking into the soil that I was going to use, all of those basic things. But the first thing that I did in January was that I opened a Facebook page specifically for my locals, just to advertise the seedling sale and the roadside stand that I'm going to have as well. So it's just a local thing. Now this page is not going to be something that I am attaching to this channel, Soil and Margaritas, for 2 reasons, and I'll tell you those. So that page is going to be just for my locals, just for the people that are able to come here and purchase something from me, both from the seedling sale and for the roadside stand. The first reason why I didn't want to attach it to Soil and Margaritas was because I didn't want to have people that follow this channel knowing my address, knowing exactly where I live. Now, I know it feels contradictory, right? Like the more eyes that I have, the better. So the more chances I have to sell. But I know there's so many people out there that are just up to no good. So I'm just going to leave it there. Reason number 2, I have people like, I don't know, Debbie in Wisconsin who follows my page, and she could care less about when I have my roadside stand open, or if I am going to have my seedling sale, at the end of April, because she's not going to be able to make it. So I have a lot of people that follow me on Soil and Margaritas, but they don't follow me because they want to purchase flowers or seedlings. That page that I open on Facebook is just for updating when I'm going to be open, when the seedling sale is going to be happening, or when the roadside stand is going to be open. It is not going to be about teaching or sharing or showing tutorials or this or that. It's just for updates on when people can purchase what I'm selling. So I opened that at the beginning of January, and I started pushing it through my local Facebook page, telling my friends, if you're into flowers, if you're into this or that, follow this page, share it, and it started getting a little bit of traction. And I also decided to open a private newsletter for these people, the people that are following the seedling sale and the roadside stand. And I got some really good amounts of people following. Now, those amounts are really low compared to what I have in Soil Margaritas. And that is absolutely fine because, again, this is just for the people that are local. So to give you an idea, by the time that I had the seedling sale, that Facebook page had about 120 people following, I believe, and my newsletter had about 40 people. So just imagine if half of those people that follow both showed up to my sale, it will be a total hit. So right now I'm not worried too much about numbers. Right now I'm just worrying about getting the word out so that people can follow it, and eventually this gets to be a complete success. January, February, March, I started posting on that Facebook page a little bit of updates, like these things are growing amazing, these tomatoes are going to be amazing for the seedling sale, so that new eyes will be able to see those posts. And again, I share a lot on my personal Facebook page, which I don't really do Facebook a lot. I do have some followers there. I do have a lot of people that follow me because of my photography business that I had in the past years. So I have a lot of local people that know me, but I don't really do a lot on Facebook. So pushing that here and there once, maybe twice a week, if that many, helped me. Now at this point during those months, I did not send any newsletters. I was pushing just the newsletter so to get a lot of subscribers, but I didn't do anything with the newsletter. About a week, about 7 days before the seedling sale, that's when things started to pick up. That's when I started to get my seedlings to harden off, and I just started with the seedlings that I was going to have for the sale because I had a good amount of seedlings that I was growing for myself, but I decided not to worry about those as far as hardening off, and I just started hardening off the seedlings that I had for sale. So 7 days before that, I started doing that slowly, day by day. But also 7 days before the seedling sale, I made a few flyers that I posted around local coffee shops, a couple of Starbucks, and a couple of businesses where I knew that there was a lot of traffic, that maybe people were going to be able to see it and find out about the sale. I did add a QR code to that flyer that linked directly to the Facebook page so that people were interested to know more about what I was selling, all of the things that were going to be available for the sale. They could just look at my Facebook page and they were going to have more information on that. Now, one of the things that I wish that I would have done for that QR code was to make it so that I was able to track how many clicks I had on those QR codes, because that's the one thing that I didn't do, and I didn't think about it until afterwards. It would be nice to know if I had 5 people clicking on that link or if I had 500 people clicking on that link. Now, that is something that I'm definitely going to do for my following year, and we'll see how that goes. Now, one tip that I can give you when you are placing flyers in your local businesses around your town is that, one, you have to get permission from the people doing that and also help them with their business. That day I drove around and I went to 4 places that sold coffee, and I got myself 4 drinks that day. My car was full of coffee, and it was fun. It was just totally fine. But also bring your own push pins, bring your own tape, and bring your own magnets, because a lot of these people, Starbucks uses magnets on their boards. Some places just have a tile wall, and I had to use tape for that. And if I didn't have the things that I needed, the supplies that I needed to get my flyers where I want them, I wouldn't have been able to do that when I went. So bring yourself supplies so that you don't have to be asking the people, do you have some tape? Do you have some push pins? So just make it easier for you, make it easier for them. That way you are prepared. I made myself notes because I really wanted to make sure that I talk about everything that I was thinking about. And hopefully these notes or this information that I'm giving you helps you, but it's also going to be great for me looking at this next year when I am starting to prepare and organize for my second seedling sale. So hopefully this helps. So as I mentioned, a week before the seedling sale, I started to harden off all of these plants. I really wanted to make sure that these plants were good to go when people purchase them from me. Every single plant, every single container that I sold had a name tag. And actually, a couple of people mentioned to me that this was really helpful because if they purchased, 3 or 4 different varieties of tomatoes or two types of cosmos and they didn't have a tag, they wouldn't be able to know the difference. And I make sure that every single plant had its own tag. And also every variety that I sold had a info card, which I mentioned here before. It was just a small card, laminated. I went to FedEx and I did all of this. And by the way, all of the graphics, the information cards, the flyers that I did for the seedling sale, I used Canva. It's super cheap and I use it a lot for my channel, for my edits, for things that I do on Instagram. So if you want to know about something, so if you want to check it out, they're not paying me. I'm not a sponsor or anything like that. But Canva I use for every single graphic, every single thing that I did. It's just super easy to use. And I am so glad that I did the info cards because I think they were really, really a huge help when people tried to look at varieties and they didn't know how big they were going to get or if they needed some support or if they were a vine, all of those things. And I am really, really glad that I got those done. I also make a couple of extra signs here and there to tell people, wait until the weather is nice to plant your tomatoes. Tomatoes can be planted a little bit deep. You can pinch amaranth when it's a little bit taller. Those little things that maybe I wanted people to know, I make a couple of signs extra and I place them close to where the varieties were that I was talking about. I did use a couple of my trellises, my really, really tall trellises, just to place on the ground, and I taped those signs to it. Those came out really, really convenient because the day before the sale, I was thinking I have a lot of signs and I wanted to be high, I wanted to be, close to where people can see them, where they don't really have to be kneeling down to see it under the table. And having these trellises, standing trellises was a huge help. The weather before the seedling sale was amazing. It was nice and warm. Hardening off went really, really smoothly. And the day before the sale, that Friday, because I had the seedling sale on a Saturday, the day before the sale, I placed my signs that said plant sale that way, plant sale this way. I placed them around my neighborhood in big spots early that Friday, just to make sure that people that were driving locally that hadn't seen the signs at local shops or that haven't heard about the page on Facebook saw those. And I think that gave me a few eyes as well. So I did those the day before. I placed them around and make sure they were nice and visible. Gosh, all of these mosquitoes, and everything was going great. That day I also did what I call quality control. There were some things that got damaged from the process of hardening off. One of those days it was really, really windy in the morning while I was hardening off, and some things just bended over. They did not like that, so I really didn't feel good about selling those. And it wasn't a lot of things that were damaged. I think that in total I got like 7 things combined. And that's pretty much what I took out. And I feel okay doing that because I really didn't want to have something that looked super, super weak and being sold that day. The day of the sale came, Saturday morning. Personally, I was super worried. I don't know why. My husband was making fun of me. I had nightmares that my alarms didn't go off and that people were knocking on my door at 9:15 asking if the sale was still happening. I was definitely nervous. Like, I don't know why. I really had no reason to be nervous, but I was. Anyway, that morning I got up early. I got ready. I knew it was going to be cold that morning. Out of all the days, that day, Saturday morning, it was going to be a little bit on the cool side, like 47 degrees it was going to be by the time that the sale started, and I was worried. I was worried because I didn't want my plants to look bad. I didn't want the plants to get damaged, and even though 47 wasn't that bad, I mean, it was still cold. For warm-loving plants, still cold. But regardless, I did what I have to do all of my family, both of my kids and my husband helped me. That was amazing because I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. We took all of the plants out because I brought those plants the night before. I did not want to risk them getting damaged by the cold. We took all of the plants out. We got all of the tables, trellises, signs, everything that I needed. We got everything on the front. And one of my kids was sick that day, so I just asked him, once people started showing up, that he needed to be inside. And my daughter was in charge of the camera. So any videos, any photos that you see of the actual sale, I did not do that. It was all her. So I am so thankful for her. But also my husband he has always been a huge supporter of mine. My husband was in charge of the register, and that was a huge help for myself because I talked to a lot of people that day. I made it a point to talk to everybody who attended the sale, and I know that I missed a couple, and I'm sorry for that if you were at the sale and I didn't get to say hi to you, but I did make it a point to say hi to everybody. And my husband was just in charge of the checkout part, and that was, oh my gosh, that was a huge help for myself. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention was that throughout those months, throughout the newsletter and the Facebook page, I mentioned that cash was going to be the preferred method for payments, but I also had the availability to do credit cards. And I used Stripe, which it was very smooth, I have to say. I only have to download an app on my phone that if the people had the ability to tap with their card, that was available. If they could do Apple Pay, that was also available. So it was super easy. And I only had a handful of people that did credit card, but I did wanted to make sure that I didn't have any credit cards, that I didn't have to deal with any of that. And most of the people, about 90% of the people, paid in cash. Another thing that I mentioned before the sale, I think it was about the week before the sale, I mentioned, where people were going to be able to park. I live in a neighborhood, so it's not that I have, this huge parking lot. I gave instructions about where to park. I make sure to tell people that my trays and my inserts were not going to be for sale. So to make sure to bring their own containers, their own boxes. And I also did go to Aldi a couple of times before the sale, and I got a bunch of boxes, and I think I got way too many. I think I got about 20, and I probably had half of those left after the sale because everybody came prepared. Everybody had laundry baskets. People brought their own, trays. It was really, really good thing. So that day, the hours for the sale were going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And my first customer was at 8:30, and my second customer showed up at 8:34, which I did not mind. I mean, I was in the middle of placing the information cards. My husband was helping me, and it was good. I mean, I do not mind it at all, but not for my sale next year. People will get there early for sure. Also, one of the things that I wanted to do for the people that subscribe to my newsletter was that I wanted to get a couple of those people some gifts. And in order to do that, I sent a couple of newsletters 2 weeks before and then 1 week before, saying if you showed up the day of the sale and if you're coming from my newsletter, tell me that you're coming, and I will have 3 gifts for the first 3 people that come to me. They come to me, not the first 3 customers, the first 3 people that come to me from the newsletter and tell me I am the biggest fan of okra will get a little gift bag. And I thought, okay, for sure some people are going to forget about it, and for sure some people are not even going to read all the information that I sent to my newsletter, and it's probably not going to happen. I was ready. Those the gift bags that I had were a combination of a dahlia tuber, and a couple packets of seeds, zinnia seeds, and a really nice variety of sunflowers. So the first person that showed up at 8:30 told me, hey, by the way, I'm the biggest fan of okra, and I got all of those people taken care of. But what was funny to me was that people were like, why the phrase I'm the biggest fan of okra. And that came from another video where I mentioned that I was not the biggest fan of okra, and I got some hate from okra lovers all over the place saying, oh, you just gotta prepare it this way, you just gotta prepare it that way. I'm not the biggest fan of okra. Let's just leave it at that. So I did that, and I think that I had about 8 people come to me and tell me I'm the biggest fan of okra, and I only had 3 gifts. So maybe next year, depending how many newsletter subscribers I had, maybe I'll have like 5 gift bags, and I'll think about something to do. I'll think about something different to do. I wish that I could give everybody a gift for, that are coming from my newsletter, but also, I also need to make some money out of this. So I don't know. That was, I think, something nice to do for the people that, decided to give me their email addresses and subscribe to the newsletter. And I don't know, maybe something that you can take as well if you decide to do a newsletter for your seedling sale. So as far as the setup that I had for my plants, and again, I did not take any pictures of these. Everything that you see from the sale, from the actual day of the sale, was my daughter. Thank you so much, my love, you're amazing. So I tried to separate things a little bit, and I tried to have sections, and I tried to separate things enough so that 2 people were, walking around with boxes. They would have enough room to move around. I had my dahlias in one spot, both the tubers and the potted plants. I had tomatoes in just one table. I had the herbs together. I had some flowers on one side. I had some things on the other. And then my husband was away from all of that, taking payments and all of that. So I think that was great. I think that the setup was good. I definitely think that next year maybe I'll get a couple of nicer tables, because I had to use a couple of horses. I'm looking at them because they're right there next to me. And I mean, I was fine. I was happy with the setup and everything. And I know that a lot of you were asking me about prices, specifically when it comes to the plants that I offer my Bootstrap Farmer containers. Now, I started majority of the things to be in the final size, in the 2.5-inch containers. And I order, most of my pots were from Bootstrap Farmer. The only pots that I did not use for selling the plants were the big containers that I use for my dahlias, the potted dahlias. Those were like huge containers, 5-inch size. And when I look at the prices of Bootstrap Farmers compared to like the super cheap quality that I found on Amazon, I was really going to have to charge a lot for a potted dahlia, which I didn't want to do. So I went with the cheap containers from Amazon for the big dahlias, and I was able to get $15 for those potted dahlias, which I only had one left, one potted dahlia left, but I also just have one variety, Sweet Suzanne, which is a variety that you cannot find locally. I had one person come from far away that came just because she wanted tubers and potted dahlias from Sweet Suzanne. But most of the containers were the 2.5-inch green containers. Now I did this for a reason. I went with the green color for the small size, and the next size that I had was the 4-inch size or 3.5-inch size, again from Bootstrap Farmer, and those I chose blue. I wanted to say, the green containers are this much, the blue containers are this much. So I did that, and I had a couple of big signs the day of the sale telling people green containers this much, blue containers this much. And I'm going to share this with you. Now, I know that a lot of people may be thinking these are too cheap, or these are too pricey, or whatever. And I just want to say the price is going to depend a lot on your location, on the things that you use, on, all of that. A lot of you are going to be thinking, wow, looking at the amount that you spend on containers, looking at the amount that you spend on soil, looking at the time that you took to grow these things, electricity, the hours that you spend watering, the time that you spend hardening enough, it is not worth it. For these prices, it is not worth it. And you may be right. If you want to look at it that way, you may be okay. But guys, I am starting seeds. I am starting a lot of plants. I'm looking right now, I have like 15 trays that are just my plants that are hardening off right now. I am doing this anyway. I have the space, I have little space, but I have extra space to grow plants from seed, and this is worth it for me. This is definitely worth it for me. It is not going to be the same for everybody. It may not be the same for you if you're looking to, you know, really get rich doing a seedling sale. This may not be the route that you want to take, but for me, I enjoy growing the plants. I enjoy hanging out with the people that day. I enjoy talking about plants, and there is something about seeing somebody coming to my sale, grabbing a full basket full of plants and telling me, wow, this looks really healthy, or wow, I have never been able to, you know, to get Verbena bonariensis, or wow, how are you, you know, germinating the nasturtiums, because I can't get nasturtium seeds to germinate. I enjoy that. So all of this for me was definitely worth it. Hopefully this video opens up your eyes to what other people are doing as far as doing a seedling sale, a plant sale, because last year, or at the beginning of this year, when I was doing all of my research, when I was trying to watch as many videos possible from other people doing their own sales, there wasn't a lot. There isn't a lot out there. So hopefully this video helps you, and if it's helping you in some way, or if it's opening your eyes and you decide, oh my gosh, I'm definitely not going to do that, let me know in the comments. Share your thoughts with me. So at the end of the sale, I had about 20% of the plants left, and that for me was amazing. I really thought that I was going to have to open another day, like the next Saturday. I thought I was going to have to do another sale to sell the rest of the plants, but that was definitely not the case. A couple of things that I noticed was that when I started the sale, for sure I thought tomatoes are going to be a hit, because I am growing really nice variety of tomatoes that you can't really find locally. And I thought people are going to come for the tomatoes, they're going to be drawn to those, and they'll get a couple of flowers, you know, with their purchase. But it was completely the other way around. People came and they purchased the flowers. They actually purchased all of the flowers. I had about a total of 5 or 7 plants that were just flowers, and the rest were tomatoes. And that is surprising to me, because like for sure I thought the tomatoes were going to be sold 100%, but the 20% that I have left are majority tomatoes, and I'm actually going to be donating a bunch of those to my local community garden that is coming up here soon. That just tells me that, you know, people were here because they really wanted to get the flowers. That makes sense because a lot of these flowers, like, I am not going to be able to find locally here, and people knew that. To give you an idea, all of my flowers that you see here sold out. All of them. I think that I only had a couple of marigolds and a couple of coleus left, and the only coleus that I had left was the lime delight variety, because I don't really think that people enjoy the green color as much. But I only had like 3 or 4 of those left out of a whole tray, so that was really not bad. And my tomatoes, the variety that sold the most were my sun sugar tomatoes, which was the only cherry variety that I grew. And that makes sense because I have talked a lot about how these are my favorite cherry tomatoes because they're so sweet and people really wanted that. So that variety was the one that sold the most. And the second variety that sold the most was German pink. And I mean, I love German pink. And a lot of the people who showed up to the sale were asking me, you know, which is your favorite type of tomato? Out of all of these that you have here, which one is your favorite? And it was so hard to choose. It was so hard for me to say, you know, pineapple is my favorite or Abe Lincoln is my favorite, because all of the varieties that I grew were because they were my favorite. They were really, really great varieties. There was only one variety that I grew that was new to me, and that was San Marzano 2, which is a determinate, not an indeterminate, a one-time fruiting and done type of plant. And I had a lot of those left. I guess people could not care about San Marzano, so I have a lot of those left. But my goodness, my cosmos, my coleus, verbena bonariensis, I only had one tray of verbena. Next year for sure I'm going to do a couple of those trays. I am going to do a bunch more of cosmos. I am going to do definitely more dahlias. People really wanted the potted dahlias. They were hoping for more varieties, but I only really did have the one. And again, this year has been, at least for me, has been first time for everything. So hopefully next year I can do a bunch more varieties, flowers that is. And I definitely think that it's going to be a lot less tomatoes. Again, the sale was an amazing success for me. Even though I didn't sell every single plant, I sold plenty. It was super amazing, you guys. A lot of the people that came knew about it because of this channel of Soil and Margaritas. There were a couple people that brought me a couple of gifts. One of them brought me this melon that I am taking care of it like with my life. It is now hardening off, and Sandra, oh my gosh, she brought me this from her own collection, and oh my gosh, that was amazing. Melissa also brought me some goodies from her business. She has bees just about 10-15 minutes south of me. Again, she knew of me because of her sister Connie in Iowa watches my channel, and these are such an amazing things for me, you guys. It does something for my soul that is just such a great thing. Things that I did not expect to happen was that the sale just went by like quickly. And I had 2 people that came from Ohio. To give you an idea, that's about a couple of hours drive. And I had one sweet couple that came from Chicago. And oh my gosh, that to me is unbelievable. That people will drive that much to go to a seedling sale. There are just no words that I can put, to that. So again, the sale was just amazing. And again, I sold about 80% of all of my plants. The weather, well, it could have been a lot nicer than it was great. There was no rain. So that was a huge, huge plus. Will I do this next year? Absolutely. I think that from now on, this is definitely something that I am going to do, and I am going to try to perfect. Although I think that for my first year, I didn't do that bad. I mean, I think that I definitely was prepared, again, because I did a lot of research from other people's experiences. And it was great. If this video was helpful for you, let me know in the comments, share it with a friend. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here, you guys, and I will see you in the next time.